For part two, what I want you to do is basically this same thing, but duplicate it with a second signal chain, a second VCF, and a second modulation matrix. These sounds you need to record, but they don't need to go to an animation. So what you would do is you would feed the noise into another filter, which you could use a different filter, whatever you want to do. Let's say you use this one. Then take the audio outputs. Now you're going to want to mix your audio outputs, the volumes of them. So you can use any mixer that you can find. For instance, you could bring the audio of the first filter into this mixer and the audio output of the second filter into another input of this mixer. Then take the audio output into the final VCA. Now you need to modulate this. So guess what you need to do? You need to repeat everything you did. And one of the things that makes it easy to do with this filter is that you can use an external mixer. We have one right here that you're not using yet. But it also has one modulation input here with its own volume control and a second one here with its own volume control. So let's say that you used another LFO, this one, and then let's say also you took your gate signal into another envelope generator and you use that into here. So now you have noise coming into two filters. Every time you press a key, it fires a gate that opens up these two envelope generators. The first one affects the first filter, second one affects the second filter. And you also have an LFO going to each. For this section, I would like you to try to use at least one of these chains having a third modulation source. And since your first filter has this 3-channel mixer, this would be a good choice. One of the things you could do is you could take a simple LFO from here and plug it in like that. You could also do something else, which is take the signal from the LFO, feed it into a VCA. We'll use VCA4 because it's easier to see the cabling. This is VCA4 output, and you could come in either to the mixer for the first filter or into this. Now, because this is unattenuated, but we're going to use a VCA, so this would control the volume. Then what you want is something to control this. You could make sure this switch is in mode 3, and you could use the modulation wheel on the keyboard to control when this LFO is coming through here and into this filter. Another thing that you could do is, instead of using the mod wheel, you could take a gate into, you guessed it, another envelope generator, and there's several here. This is available. There's another fancy one down here, and there's another simple one here. Let's say for talking's sake, you use this simple one. So this is basically part 2. Part 1, you make copter sounds, keep it simple, record it in Logic, match it up to the animation. Part 2, you don't worry about matching sound to animation, but I want you to kind of go crazy. Now, one of the things that could be important is this is only a low-pass filter. So making a composite sound, if you set this to band pass or high pass, and even if you don't particularly care for the sound this does by itself, when you combine the two, it makes a composite sound. So that's part 2.